end is a bizarre disease killing this man by a lack of sleep. Along with food and water, we all need sleep. And we all know what it feels like when we haven't had enough. Yet when a music teacher named Michael Cork began to act strangely, no one suspected that sleep had anything to do with it. 8 years ago, 39-year-old Michael Cork was in his prime. A vibrant, charismatic junior high school band instructor with a zest for life and a love of music. John Olson is a band leader of a neighboring school.
Michael had one of the finest junior high school bands in the country. It was an exceptional band. He worked very hard at that. He was very proud of that.
And for his students, he was the teacher they'll never forget.
He believed in us, and he wanted to install the fact that music is something that you can count on.
Mr. Cork was the first person that taught me how to love and appreciate the joy and the beauty of the music. He talked about how, like, when we played this one part in the music, that he got chills up his back, and I had never felt that before, but after he said that, like, I could feel it. It was awesome. I loved it.
Every band class, he made you feel like a special person every day you walked in. He had this big smile on his face, and he just couldn't wait for rehearsal to start. And after every rehearsal, he's like, "You guys are great. You guys are wonderful."
Michael had been happily married to his wife Penny for 5 years when he began to notice some strange physical symptoms. He was also having trouble sleeping.
One night, he complained about little needles in his head and neck and shoulder, and it was as if they were poking up toward the surface of the skin. I took it seriously because Michael was not a complainer. This went on for a few weeks, and we couldn't explain it. It wasn't getting any better, so he went to the doctor.
Michael's doctor gave him an MRI brain scan and a spinal tap. But the diagnosis remained a mystery. Joanne Mosby is Michael Cork's sister.
Besides being a music teacher, he played clarinet, and he had to have his dexterity. And when he started losing his dexterity, I think that's when he initially became concerned.
Michael and Penny looked up his symptoms in some library books and decided that Michael had multiple sclerosis, a disorder of the central nervous system. Michael's doctor agreed with their diagnosis. Even though a second opinion from the Mayo Clinic couldn't confirm that Michael had MS, they agreed that his symptoms looked like multiple sclerosis. Michael Cork then went to neurologist Tony Reeder at the University of Chicago Medical Center.
When I first met Michael Cork, he was a normal, intelligent, witty man. The story fit multiple sclerosis perfectly, except for one thing. An MRI scan of his brain didn't show any of the typical spots that we see in multiple sclerosis.
Michael was treated with steroids, and although the muscle problems continued, he began to feel a little better. But Michael was still having terrible problems sleeping.
Stop it. Please stop.
One night, he got really angry with me, and he said, wake up, you're snoring." And so I slept on the floor in the living room for 10 nights. Many times during the night, I could feel his restlessness, his tossing and turning. And it continued.
They finally went to a therapist for help.
And she asked Michael why he was there, and he said, "Because I'm dying." And we were both speechless at first. "What do you mean you're dying? We're all dying, we're all going to die, we're all getting old." And he said, "No, I am dying, I know."
Even his students were frightened by the change in their beloved teacher.
He would sit in his office sometimes because, you know, he was either really tired or just really worn out, and it was very hard to watch him decline in that way.
And sometimes we saw him get up on the podium and try to conduct and try to, you know, do what he loved. He would just have to stop. And it was really hard on us because we knew he was worsening.
Although he was quite sick, Michael conducted the band's Christmas concert.
As soon as he walked in, everyone stood up and gave him a standing ovation. And the parents loved him, the school loved him, and it was very hard because I think we knew what was going on, and yeah, that was his last concert, and it was rough.
By Christmas Day, Michael's condition was dire.
We were in the middle of dinner, and Mick turned to my mother and said, "Where's Grandma? Why's Grandma not here?" Our grandmother had passed away 16 years before then. My mother fell apart right then and there.
I would give him a shower in the morning and dry him off and dress him. And we both knew as I was dressing him what an insult to his dignity it was. But there was no other way. It was frightening. I loved Michael.
He had a physical exam and a psychiatric evaluation, and we noticed a couple things that were odd. He was sweating more than he should have been. His psychiatric testing showed a marked decline. His IQ had dropped dramatically.
And so, on our anniversary, our wedding anniversary, I took Michael to the hospital so he could sign himself into the psychiatric ward.
Doctors would soon make a startling discovery. Michael Cork wasn't sleeping at all. At the University of Chicago's Brain Surgery Institute, a world-renowned team of doctors led by Dr. Raymond Roos came up with a new diagnosis: fatal familial insomnia. Fatal familial insomnia, or FFI, is an extraordinary neurological disorder, thought to be hereditary. It's a disease actually related to mad cow disease, in which a normal protein goes haywire and attacks the brain.
Dr. Roos said, "We have a diagnosis, and it's something called fatal familial insomnia, and there is no treatment, and there is no cure." And before I could process that information, before I could even react to that, he then said, "Because this is genetic, you need to be tested right away." It just kind of all went right on through. I didn't hear it because he just told me that my brother is going to die.
Fatal familial insomnia is so rare that only 40 cases have ever been diagnosed in the world. No sleeping pill, except one experimental drug, could override the effects of the illness and allow Michael Cork to sleep. And that one drug only gave him 3 hours of rest at a time. After just 3 weeks, it too became useless.
If you walked in and casually looked at him, you'd say, "This man is ready to go to sleep. Leave him alone, leave the room, and he's going to fall asleep." But he never did. And this lack of sleep was having devastating effects on the way he thought. He couldn't put things together. He couldn't remember, and he was hallucinating continuously.
Take a deep breath again, and say as long as you can.
Here's an actual tape made of Michael Cork in the hospital.
Can you try it?
He just phased out.
How long you been here? Yeah. How much?
2 weeks.
So little is known about the disease, even though it's unlikely that it can be passed from person to person, doctors made Michael's wife wear protective clothing when she visited him in the hospital.
And his eyes were half open, and they kind of rolled back. And I reached out and touched him, and I kept trying to touch him all over, but I had gloves on. And I went to hug him, and I had the mask on, and I thought, the hell with it. And I took the mask and the gloves off, and I figured, what did it matter? And I kissed him. I kissed his face. I kissed his hands. I put my head on his shoulder.
Dr. Reeder remembers the last time he talked to Michael Cork.
He looked at me and the nurse and didn't say anything, but I know what he was thinking. He was thinking of a line from Shakespeare. Oh, sweet sleep, nature's soft nurse, how have I frighted thee, that thou no more wilt make my eyelids heavy.
Finally, on March 22, 1993, after suffering for more than 3 years, Michael found peace at last. Hundreds of people turned out for his funeral.
I was in awe. To see that many people love my brother. It was not a funeral, it was a celebration.
Even though he's not here anymore, he still lives in the music we still play. It's just an embodiment of his spirit.
And I know that like he always supported me, so sometimes when I have trouble supporting myself, I remember that. And I know that he's still supporting me.
When he died, there was this terrible sense of loss, but there was also now, Michael can finally sleep.
Luckily, no one else in Michael Cork's family tested positive for the rare disease. Michael Cork's legacy extends even beyond the people who loved him. Dr. Raymond Roos of the University of Chicago Medical Center has told us that thanks to the fact that Michael Cork allowed for the study of his brain after he died, much more may be learned not only about this very rare disease, but also about Alzheimer's as well. Because in both diseases, there's a buildup of abnormal proteins in the brain. Next on Vital Signs, the children of this New England town.
P.O. Box 2400, Santa Monica, California, 90406. For a transcript of the preceding program, call 1-800-777-TEXT.
Sunday, they knew their daughter had problems.
Do you want to throw your life away?
They knew she needed help.
We're sending you to a place called Meadowbrook.
But what they didn't know could kill her.
I just hope she's really okay.
Strip search.
No!
You're gonna be just fine. 90210's Jenny Garth, Jill Eikenberry, and Paul Sorvino star in Without Consent.